I'm sorry, Muho, I can't hug you or touch you in any way again. This is for your own good.
I guess I'll just go listen to some metal.
All right. So we're talking about The Art of Self-Defense, which is
Hello.
it's probably a smaller movie. You probably I imagine most of you guys probably haven't heard of.
Yeah, no, this is actually getting very slight distribution. It was kind of tricky for me to find time to go see it because there was only one theater in the area that's showing it.
Yeah, it's one of those.
And even then, only on one screen. But
it's one of those movies I kept seeing ads pop up for on Facebook. That's really about it.
It sucks because the ads on Facebook actually spoil quite a bit. I know
not the
about
stuff
it.
that matters, I think. At least not to me.
I don't know. I mean, it kind of spoils the bad guy angle.
True.
Because when I initially saw the trailers on in theaters, like there was one trailer I caught, and I was completely caught off guard by a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Even though there was plenty of like telegraphing in the movie itself about what was going to happen, you know, there was still plenty of stuff in there that was a pleasant surprise. It was pretty interesting. So. Yeah, so Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah.
Doing an interesting Jesse Eisenberg
he's doing that role he's like just born to play, but he does it so well.
Yeah, but that's... Okay, so if we're talking about... I have a friend who just fucking can't stand Jesse Eisenberg.
I don't blame him.
Because, you know, whether we're talking about The Social Network or BVS, he pretty much plays the same variant of... that, you know, neurotic...
Well, BVS is a whole different beast.
Calm your bitchin'. But, like, it's all just variants on the same, like, they're like, oh, we want the Jesse Eisenberg. Can you give us the Jesse Eisenberg? But I don't think that's fair, because I've actually seen him in a number of movies where, like, Adventureland is still...
Yeah, like, I like...
where I first got a proper impression of
him.
him.
I like Jesse Eisenberg as an actor. I think in the movies I've seen him, I liked him, and I think he's really good in, like, Like, first movie I saw him in was Zombieland, which kind of just set the bar. Which I guess is getting a sequel now. The trailer just came out for, like...
Clearly you need to see the Jesse of the Lands to fully appreciate. But I was kind of intrigued by this movie. Weirdly, like, one of my first initial impressions was... but the way that I could see that it was still kind of a Jesse Eisenberg style role, but it was also...
He's still playing a character.
Different? Like, it's a much more subdued and like, weird,
kind of muted.
It's less dialed up here. It's or dialed down. You know, words are great today. That's what I'm doing.
I get what you're saying.
But yeah, it's kind of a dialed down version of the normal kind of thing that you'd get from Jesse Eisenberg, and I find that really interesting, not just from seeing the initial trailers, but seeing how they played with that in the movie.
Yeah, and it definitely plays off the tone and like thematic elements of the film in a really interesting way. And again, it's not like Jesse Eisenberg just doing his usual shtick and that's all he's doing. He's still playing a genuine character.
Yes.
And he's definitely diving hard into what this movie is actually about in a way that really, really works. First, I would say this movie's fucking great.
Oh, yeah. No, let's get this out of the way. I had a damn good time.
I was
definitely laughing at parts other people weren't. Because I feel like some of the humor is very kind of like it's not so much subtle, but just low key.
It's a little bit of that mixture of just some parts are just like you're laughing, but it's also what's also happening is genuinely disturbing.
There is some of that
like
too.
There are parts where people are laughing. I'm just going, Jesus, this is really fucking disturbing. Like this is kind of hard to watch at times, at least for me.
It was great to see Imogen Poots again. Always a pleasure to see Imogen Poots. She's the lead instructor.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. I don't think I've seen her in much.
The last time you saw her, I think, is in Pop Star as the fame-chasing girlfriend.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Like, she's one of those actresses that just randomly pops up through the years, and every time I see her, I'm like, you were great in that. You were just right. I loved it. And in this one, she is once again just right for the role that she has. Mm-hmm. And the main instructor of the gym or the dojo is
so good.
He's really good at what he does. Because there was definitely a moment at the when they first introduce him where he says now bow to your grandmaster, and immediately my mind went to Rex from fucking Napoleon Dynamite. Oh, bow to your sensei! Bow to your sensei! Just like...
See, I was one of that few people my age that hated Napoleon Dynamite when it came out.
Oh man, you might want to try it again.
If it didn't sell me when I was a kid, I don't think it's now.
It's got one of those senses of humor that's just so strange.
It's not. I've watched parts of it now. It's like it's not my kind of humor.
I don't know. I think it's still worth a revisit.
Maybe.
Just because there's something about it where, you know, as teenagers we laughed like, oh, they're stupid and weird, and oh, that's funny. Like, but there are elements of the movie that are weirdly more subtle. That if you're paying attention, no. For example, just little tricks they do with it that are clearly just filmmaking jokes. Like when Kip is on the phone with Napoleon at one point. He's making nachos or something, and he's shredding cheese for them. And while he's on the phone, over the course of like 3 or 4 cuts, more and more cheese just ends up grated in the background, but he's just standing there on the phone.
Okay, that's kind of funny.
It just goes from being like some cheese to like a decent amount of cheese to by the end the whole block is grated and there's just this mountain of cheese, and he's just been standing there on the phone. And it's just weird little touches like that. It's worth paying attention to more. There's more that went into it than you might have initially thought.
To me, that feels like it was like, dude, give Freddy Got Fingered a chance.
No. Freddy Got Fingered is one of those movies that I love for very specific reasons, and I cannot recommend to anybody.
You would love Freddy Got Fingered.
I love it not even because I think it's funny, but for the fucking spectacle of it.
There is that.
It is such an incredibly bizarre, like, how the fuck did this get made kind of movie that you can't help but just be stunned.
Marvel and just what the hell is happening.
He literally delivers a baby, and then instead of burping it, swings it around his head by the umbilical cord.
I've seen the clip.
What?
I don't know.
And it's really a capsule, like a time capsule. Like I don't think that could get made today.
No.
I don't think it could have gotten made 10 years before that.
Nor should it.
Only happened in that late 90s, early 2000s MTV weirdness bubble where Jackass also came to be. Like, it's just such a weird entity, and I can't help but just be shocked by it. Although, I will say, having said that, weirdly, that and Brothers Grimsby have a nice little parallel.
Lord.
In terms of just some of the humor is the kind of thing where
you gotta bring that into the sacred dojo.
I watched the review again.
Yeah, that's what you texted me.
One of my favorite moments in the review was when we're talking about the scene where Mark Strong is forcing fucking forcing Sacha Baron Cohen to like suck poison out of his nuts or something because he got bitten on the balls by a snake.
I remember. I was there.
Yeah. And it is such a long scene. It's such a long scene. And while we're talking about it, I yell like, I need you to suck my balls. And like, there's this old man who was getting in his car next to us and our windows are down. And he's like, But there's a certain philosophy of that kind of comedy where it's like you take the joke and you just extend it until it's not funny anymore. And if you just stick with it long enough, it will reach a point where it will suddenly become funny again just because it's so like, why?
I'm not gonna lie, I really hope that YouTube doesn't find that review when we get reviews for monetization.
Really? Which one? Oh, the Brothers Grimsby one?
Brothers Grimsby review.
Well, I mean, you know, we can always bleep the part. Yeah, anyway.
Can we talk about a movie I like now?
Yeah, Art of Self-Defense.
Art of Self-Defense.
Got a more subtle style of humor. Definitely the opposite of all those things.
Oh, very much so.
But I really enjoyed that stilted awkwardness. Oh, that's kind of why I brought up Napoleon Dynamite.
Okay,
there's like this weird, this isn't how people act kind of humor to some of it. And the Dojo Master is definitely an example of that. Where he does the like, the thing where he says, you know, you're now a black belt in speaking.
Oh yeah.
In my head, I'm thinking that doesn't work at all.
It's like, and that's what it rolls down to. What I really love about the movie.
Rent a movie. It's like
rent, or is it a film?
So awkward.
But I think what I loved about this movie too is the fact that it really does play into the overall themes of deconstructing toxic masculinity in like in every facet in every way.
There's a lot to that,
and a lot of it does come from like the master really does play a big part into that. Especially when he's talking about like the black belt of speaking, where he just, are you trying to find something to drink right now or
no? No, I'm just gonna. There's shines on the lens. I wanted to.
Thank you.
Help our viewership. Okay.
But like, and he plays a lot of part into that. It's like a large part of toxic masculinity is just talking out of your ass. Just like saying things that deliberately like make no sense, but because you're so masculine and so tough, you just automatically, and people look up to you, they just automatically assume anything you say is just factual or has deeper meaning when it's bullshit. It's all bullshit.
It's very strangely, there is a similar arc to this movie in terms of the main character as Fight Club,
in a way. Definitely played
not in the twist or whatever, but just in the sense that he starts off as a very meek person who gets guided to this idea of masculinity that he feels empowered from, and then at some point just clearly sees that it's going too far, and he's like, whoa, never mind, I have my own idea of what is healthy now. And I agree. I see that point too. I think this one definitely explicitly states it a bit more than Fight Club does, rather than... Fight Club is super explicit about it. What are you talking about?
It is, but that being said, there's some people that got the wrong message about from that movie.
Well, because with most movies, when you have, I still don't know how, because by the end of the film, they very clearly denounce what's been going on.
Well, it's like, Brad Pitt is bad, but isn't he kind of badass?
That's the idea, because the main character, like the dojo master here, is also kind of badass.
But you still kind of get the idea that he is talking utter bullshit when Brad Pitt in Fight Club is kind of played. You're supposed to think
you can buy into his bullshit.
You can buy into it more, because I see more people quote Fight Club like legitimately when you realize when you look at it, he goes like, no, you're not supposed to believe, you're not supposed to think he's right in any way, shape, or form.
Here's a big thing.
Okay.
A big thing about that. Both in Fight Club and in this, they are not entirely wrong. That's one of the big points about this, is that, that's what makes that kind of masculinity so seductive for a lot of people, is the fact that they've never felt that kind of power. They've never let that kind of anger really rise within them.
That's true.
I mean, it's like, if you want to get weird about it, we could also bring Stuber into this conversation, because it's relevant.
In a way, I'd say this one definitely does a better job of deconstructing.
Absolutely, because Stuber tries to go like, well, both sides, but like, when you're talking about a meek main character who gets encouraged to find the strength inside of them, you're talking about somebody who has not explored the kinds of power and masculinity that even toxic masculinity offers. And the key to understanding that is understanding the fact that a lot of the core tenets of masculinity are fine. It's fine to be masculine. It's just that toxic masculinity takes those ideas and pushes them to a level where it's harmful to others, it's detrimental to your own well-being, and like how you interact with yourself and your mind. The whole Casey is a feminine name. Kind of deal. It's the fact that he's constantly being emasculated to kind of sneg him or subtly bully him into trying to not be what he is naturally. And that's a big theme in this movie.
No, and I love that. I think it really encapsulates a lot of different facets. And this is where we're going to start getting into spoiler territory. Since as far as I've gone without going too much into spoilers.
I think we could still go a little longer without getting into spoilers.
There's a few specific elements to this I do want to talk about. But I say minor spoiler warning. Minor spoiler.
Can we touch on a couple other general things before we get into that?
Yes, fair enough.
Just in case for people. Because I feel like this is a movie that we want to talk about as much as possible without getting into spoilers. Because it is worth seeing, and I feel like it's worth talking about why it's worth seeing, because it's not just about the social message, it's and the character development, it's also about just how weirdly funny the movie is.
It is,
because it's a really funny movie.
This is an entertaining movie in its own right.
It does some really weird shit with dialogue. The dialogue is really stiff and wooden. If you've ever seen a movie like Visioneers or something like that, like there's just sometimes there's dialogue and acting where it's exactly the kind of acting that people would tell you not to do if you were trying to go to acting school, where it's very unnatural. It's the opposite of being comfortable and relaxed. It's very stiff, but it's not stiff in the way that bad acting is stiff. It's stiff in a way that
it's still conveying a point.
It is conveying a point, and it kind of takes the normal awkwardness that awkward people have and kind of ups it a little bit, but not to the point where it's cartoonish.
And it's very subtle in how it does it too. Like, and going back to Jesse Eisenberg especially, like two scenes in particular.
Dialogue.
Like I'm not giving away spoilers. It's in the trailer, so I'm not giving anything away. There's like in the very first scene we see him like in his workspace in the break room. We see the guys about talking about sex and pussy and all that, and then he just comes in and like goes like, I had barbecue with my boss and his wife was there and they were very nice.
Yeah.
And then he comes in later and he comes like, I just punched my boss in the throat. It felt amazing.
Yeah.
And he goes like, sorry, I didn't miss it.
And he
goes like, do you want to sit down? I was like, but there's no chairs. I will sit in your chair.
Let's do push-ups.
Let's do push-ups.
No, my favorite example of that is in the gun store, or it was one of them where he says,
gun store scene was amazing.
I'm looking for a gun, preferably one that would fit into my hand.
You mean like a handgun?
No. He doesn't say that. It sounds like you're looking for a handgun. and he gets a gun and he hands it to him. He says, "Here, how does this feel?" And he takes it and he looks straight down the barrel, exactly like you're not supposed to, and looks at it and he says, "Yes, this is perfect. This is exactly what I was looking for. This gun fits perfectly into my hand." And it's I think
my favorite line from that is the one that came after it was the gun store owner goes. There's like a 6 waiting period before you can actually buy
6-week waiting period if you want to buy a gun.
People used to so that way people can't buy guns and
it's if you're so that if someone was angry and tried to come in and buy a gun to kill somebody, they would have to wait 6 weeks before they could kill somebody. Like, something and like that.
It's like the line that just like that was the killer line for like everyone in my theater.
It's great. It's great. It's and the whole movie is delivered pretty much in this style where most of the people in it have some kind of weird stiffness to their delivery.
It's very dry.
But it works.
It does.
It really works, and it fits into the humor of the whole movie all the way through. Even with that, there are moments where it gets kind of unsettling and disturbing and violent and scary.
Yep.
And that all not only works, but it fits seamlessly into the rest of the film.
Like the progression
kind
towards
of astonishing.
Like the progression towards the third act is so subtle and slow that by the time you're in there, it kind of plays into the idea of getting caught up in toxic masculinity cults, which is what this movie equates it to.
Yes.
Equates it to like cults and lynch mobs.
This movie definitely, like, that's part of why I feel like the Fight Club parallel is somewhat apt.
It is.
In the sense that, there is very much that like secret club kind of feeling to it. Yeah. And the idea of a leader that might, push you to levels that you're not comfortable with. So with that, I mean, I guess, do you want to start going to spoiler territory?
Yeah, let's go spoiler
territory. All right, let's do this. I really want to talk about the rest of this.
Yeah, like how much time do you have?
Whatever, fuck it. I don't care about my job anymore.
Fair enough.
So
I got the rest of the afternoon off. So.
I finished all my work for the day, and it's like, yeah, okay. All right, so
one thing. Let's talk about like just the slow. One thing, like there's a lot of imagery and ideas that are definitely used to convey this idea that toxic masculinity really is not only a cult. It really it's almost gets borderline fascism-y a bit with the use of power symbols that all the people kind of carry around them everywhere. Because the big thing Jesse Eisenberg character has is he feels powerful when he's wearing his belts.
Yeah, he's like, I feel powerless in the real world because I can't wear my belt everywhere.
Yeah, and that's kind of the mentality that I think toxic masculinity ideas appeal to.
Yeah,
is people that want to feel powerful, and like there's always a power symbol behind that. In this case, it's the form of the karate belts. So a solution to this is he makes like irregular belts that are all just colored in the kind of belts they have, and then everyone gets into this. And,
and another what I felt was a really great joke in there is that he had to order all these different colored belts,
and he's like, black belt.
Yeah, and he's like, I even had a black belt made just for you, and it's just a normal belt because black belts are everywhere, and it's one of those jokes where like I feel like nobody in the theater laughed at it but me.
Because it's subtle, and again, it just points out just the idiocy of this.
Strange.
Like, it eviscerates, like, toxic masculinity ideas. And I also like, it goes into the topic, including Casey in there, too. I like that it also pointed out that it's not necessarily gender specific. That women can get wrapped up in it too. It's still against them.
Yes,
but they can still like try to defend it.
I think the problem is, I think there it's more of a matter of women trying to survive in a power structure that is specifically designed against them.
Yeah, and that's part of it too.
They have no chance of doing anything back. Because even when she didn't get promoted, like from that moment I was like, it's because she's a woman.
Yeah.
And I could tell from that moment, and it was it was kind of unsettling. It was just a really sad, quiet moment. We're full of huge disappointment for two characters. And I don't know. There are ways that this movie quietly devastates its characters.
Absolutely.
That is really
kind of
impressive.
Hard to watch. Yeah,
it's impressive.
Yeah, like there's a couple scenes where like I legitimately kind of like reality snapping moments where they kind of like, oh shit, this has gone too far. Yeah. Especially in the garage scene.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like that was like the wake up moment for Jesse Eisenberg's character.
Yeah.
When the sensei basically said, was like, hey, I think I found the guys that attacked you. Come over here.
Basically, directly manipulates him into assaulting an innocent man, and films it.
Yeah, because I'm filming your journey.
Yeah.
And it turns out these are all just deliberate snuff films. Like,
yeah.
Some are used for
blackmail.
Like some are used for blackmail, but there's like a whole set he has that is like has its own like VHS covers he's made on there. So like he watches for pleasure.
Here's the crazy
they're trophies.
Thing. Here's the crazy thing. It's called Faces of Fists.
Yeah.
Which is a really insane, obscure callback. Because I don't know if you've ever heard of Faces of Death.
I have not.
Faces of Death was as close as you could get to a snuff film. It was literally someone compiling footage of just people dying from around the world. Whether you're talking about them committing suicide or them getting killed by firing squad or any of that kind of stuff. It's just things that they put together, and there were like 6 or 7 volumes of this.
Wow.
And some of them were on the internet. They were really hard to find because they were banned in most places for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But it was one of the marks of a true underground video store. If you could go to a video store, you could find like all kinds of cult films and everything. But if they had a VHS of Faces of Death, you knew you were somewhere where they could get legitimate, fucked up, weird, hard to find stuff. I know this because I've seen it. And it's kind of crazy that that's their callback. Because
it does pull very specific visual imagery. Sorry.
Yes, it does. It does. Because what's weird is that it's such a strangely obscure thing to refer to, specifically through the title. But as somebody who is aware of that kind of stuff, it was really it heightened the impact of that moment a lot more.
That being said, you don't need to know what that is to still feel impacted.
No, but I'm saying that
it does enhances it.
Yeah, it clearly put that there for people who knew about it. And it was this very strange moment of holy shit, and because keep in mind, they're literally referring to a series of videos where you watch people die. Granted, some of the later stuff was faked and stuff, but it's this whole thing. You can read the Wikipedia page on it. But you're taking this thing and you're replacing death with fists, which is very much the kind of dumbass thing that the main character would do.
But that's actually an interesting point you bring up, though, because that means they're also twisting an already dark idea, and they're twisting it towards the mentality of these horrible people.
But to call it, consider how fucking scary the title Faces of Death is. Now imagine some poser calling something Faces of Fists, because it's his thing, and he's like,
it's still a joke, but there's also dark implications to it.
But that's exactly what makes this movie so fucking genius. It's the fact that it manages to make jokes like that are this incredible marriage of fucked up ideas and weird character-specific humor. And I'm just still really impressed by what they pulled off with that.
Oh, no.
And that's a great example of it.
Yeah.
But let's see what else. There's a lot.
There is a lot to cover.
There's
the actual Fight Club that exists.
Yeah. There's the night class, which immediately when they mentioned the night class, I'm like, oh, that's the Fight Club.
Yeah, I thought. Like as far as plot beats go, there weren't much I didn't see coming.
Yeah. And to be fair, they were pretty clear about that from the start.
True.
When the dude kicks him in the chest and he's like, "This is a night class. Mind yourself." Yeah.
And to be fair, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I can predict what the plot elements were.
Yes,
it's more just how the plot elements are executed when they're executed marvelously.
Yeah, there's a difference between making your shit obvious and just trying to lay the framework for a story as you progress forward. Like something coming out of left field just doesn't quite make sense, you know?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be as good of a movie if the sensei was just revealed to be a bad guy at the end. From the start, you sense that something is malicious about him, or at least fake. And as it goes on, you're like, this guy is unhealthy. And then once he films him, he's like, oh, the fuck is this guy doing? And then as it progresses further, by the end of the movie, when you realize the depths to which he goes, it's really shocking.
Like when he turns out he just has a fucking incinerator.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, what the fuck? The depths to which that went, it's a brilliant move because it gives you hints that he's worse, but it just keeps going further with it.
And he just keeps inching him further and further into it until the garage scene where he realizes he's out of its depths, and then he comes down and there's a giant German Shepherd just sitting in his living room.
And just the note that was left with it. It's like, be the alpha or it will chew your throat out in your sleep. And he's like, I'm just going to back out slowly. But then he does it. He trains the dog in German. It's great. Oh, it's so good.
It was a very satisfying conclusion.
It did that right. I saw the things coming, but when they happened, I was still satisfied. I was still happy.
I went with the gun thing at the end. I saw coming, but the finger in the head, I didn't see coming. And then I was like, "Oh my god, that is brilliant!" Because that means the old sensei they all worship also just shot a bunch of motherfuckers.
Yeah. The really crazy one was, I saw the gun thing coming, but when he was standing there with it, I was like, I don't see anywhere on his body he could be holding a gun. And so I'm like, okay, so what's gonna happen? And then it happens, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I was right, but I see where that's good. Because visually, they still make you wonder, like, what, how?
Yeah.
Because, you know, the gis aren't exactly the biggest, loosest things. They have some room, but he's got it tied tight. You know, Jesse Eisenberg is a pretty skinny guy. You can see the form of his body with the gi. It doesn't seem like he's got anything bulky on him, you know? I was really impressed by this movie.
No, this is more likely to be on my top 10 list. I'd be shocked if it wasn't.
I was very pleasantly surprised by this film. In ways that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to it. And like I've had a week to think about, and this movie's been pretty constantly on my mind all week because there's just so much to think about. And it's especially funny because I didn't think anything of this movie when I went to go see it. Like the trailer didn't really grab me. It's like, all right, well, there's only like one movie out this week. I'll just figure something else to go see, and then walk out of that theater like, Jesus.
I love when they cut to him at his desk after he started listening to metal and everything, and like, he's just sitting there. He's just got this big picture of breasts on his fucking computer screen at work, and he's got these piles of reports piled up by him, and he's just sitting there just listening to his German lessons, and he's just like, yeah, I'm badass. And it's very much like some fucking teenage boy who's just discovered his confidence and looks way more ridiculous than he thinks he does, and he's just exerting his power everywhere for no fucking reason. And it's
like even the transition to that point was good too when he puts in the metal music for the first time, and he realized this movie is horrible, I hate it, and then he looks over the family, rolls up their windows, and he smiles a little bit, and he starts listening to all the time.
I understand the power of metal.
Yeah, and it's like I think the transition and the character arc from just being like swept in this idea of feeling powerful and like feeling the power of feeling masculine for the first time in his life and realizing how dangerous it gets if you let that keep going. I thought that transition involved in that was expertly done. It was perfectly paced.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for how this movie progresses its themes, and I guess it also spoke to me on another level because there was a point not too long ago when I was actually being pushed by some friends and quite explicitly instructed by another friend to get angry, to use my anger as fuel to push myself forward. And it was like this really intense, fiery awakening for me. And I ended up becoming kind of an asshole for a while. Not towards the people that I care about, but just like strangers mostly. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't healthy, even if I thought that I had the right motivations. And once I came back around the other side of that, I look back, I'm like, wow, no wonder you guys are so fucked up. Like, that's not a good way to interact with the world. That's not healthy for you. That doesn't help your purposes. No. Unless your only purpose is to be on top all the time and you don't give a fuck about anyone else.
And it's interesting you point that out, because I used to think something similar. I don't think I ever took it to a major extreme, but I used to have a similar mindset, and that's kind of just transitioned as I've gotten older and I've had more time to think about it. Yeah. And you realize again, like, it's good for like brief moments when things are tough, but after a while it's like, that's not a long-term solution.
There are moments when you need to kind of turn off your empathy and just be an asshole to get through something, and it's usually in a situation where you're surrounded by other assholes. Mm-hmm. So, it has its uses. You should have the ability to do something with that, which again is part of why, it's not entirely wrong. But there's a time and place. You can't just use that as your mantra everywhere.
No, and like even though like I never use it towards people, it's more like situations. Yeah. But even the movie kind of ends with that message too, which is like you can be strong but still have compassion.
Yeah. They're not mutually exclusive things.
Yeah, like I like that message. Like it's like the middle ground you should aim for, and like knowing how to stand up for yourself, but not feeling like everything you have to do has to fit that ideal.
Your karate mindset is as important as your karate body or something
like that.
Karate body. But it's great. It does a great job.
It's a great film.
I'm sure we've spoiled plenty for you, but it's really something. Even if you've watched to this point without having seen it, it's still very much worth seeing, just for how they made the movie. Yeah, it's absolutely worth your time. One of those pleasant surprises that I doubt is going to get enough attention at the box office as much as it deserves. But,
I'm just so glad I saw this movie before I saw Lion King. Just because I was like, man, I need to see. Like, at least I saw something good this week.
It's a slight bone to pick. The reason I don't get to watch the newest Tarantino movie, the first one in 4 years, the second one in 10. I don't get to watch it in one of the nice big screens, like the Dolby screens or the IMAX screens. I don't get to have a fucking 35 millimeter roadshow like I got to go for Hateful Eight, is because of the fucking Lion King remake. The one that nobody asked for, where the lions' faces don't have any fucking emotions because they're realistic lions for some fucking reason. And basically they turned Scar into an incel, from what I've heard. So,
to be fair, it was one of the better parts of the movie.
Don't tell me that. I'm really, every little part of, there's so many little things that go into why I am just not having this remake.
I hated it too, but
I don't know why we needed this and Aladdin in the same year.
Oh god!
And just Disney needs to
Dumbo. Don't forget Dumbo.
That was this year too?
Yep.
Oh my god, Disney needs to put its dick away. Just
of the three, Dumbo is still the worst.
Just Disney needs to just stop. Just slow. You're making literally billions of dollars regardless of what you're doing. Just fucking stop. Just slow the fuck down. You don't need a new major thing every couple of months. Like, God, I hate Disney sometimes.
I'm with you.
And with that,
what Disney movie's coming out next week? I don't even know.
The Farewell is coming. That's another nice little independent movie.
Next one is the actual Tarantino movie. I still gotta go watch that.
Yeah, you still gotta watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I saw last night.
How was that? Well, I mean, we'll talk more about it on Wednesday, but that's what your general thoughts are.
I will say that I did a Google search for reviews for it just to see, and it perfectly encapsulated exactly what I thought about this movie, which was there's one thing that says it's one of his best, and there's another that says it's one of his worst. Just side by side in the search results. And I said, yeah, this movie greatly varies your experience will greatly vary depending on what you go for out of Quentin Tarantino movies. If you're going for the kind of madcap insanity of, you know, something like Django or Inglourious Bastards or any of the Revenge trilogy, or even like Pulp Fiction, if you're going for something like that, you're gonna not get that so much. You will get some of the stylishness. The movie is entirely self-indulgent and masturbatory, but it's a Tarantino movie.
I was gonna say, yeah.
But in a way that I don't think I've seen a Tarantino movie be yet.
See, I'm one of the people that actually like the Hateful Eight, so...
I know, I love the Hateful Eight.
Me too.
But the thing about it is that it really does... A big part of your enjoyment of the movie will come from how much you enjoy the late 60s nostalgia.
Okay.
Because he's clearly making a lot of this movie just to recreate these cool things that he really loves from back then.
That sounds a fair Tarantino.
There's definitely moments in the movie where it shows people like switching on certain equipment and stuff, and I'm like, I have the same fucking like gear fetish that you have. I get it. The fetish I don't share with him is his fucking foot fetish. So many fucking dirty feet in this movie.
I've heard that from the movie.
It's so unsettling. Like,
I think I saw like a tweet like in all caps like, why are there so many feet here?
Yeah, and there are people like, I'm not even a person who has problems with feet generally, but there were a lot of feet in this movie, and there was a point with Margot Robbie has her feet up in a movie theater, and the bottom of her feet are just dirty, and I'm like, I want to wash her feet, but not from some creepy like I want to tuck Margot Robbie kind of shit. It's like a, please. You had shoes on. Where were your feet before that? And then there's
I try not to kink shame. Whatever.
No, it's just, you know, clean. Where your dirty feet come from? And then there's this one point where this one girl has her feet up in the car, and her feet are not clean. They are not like well kept, or she's clearly a dirty hippie. And they make that clear just by looking at her feet. They're just pressed up against the windshield, and you're like,
these are like some dirty.
These are prominently placed in this shot because that's just what Tarantino likes to do. So I will say there's an element of it.
Can't wait for Star Trek where he gets alien feet.
It's just indulgent. It's indulgent all the way to how much he loves feet and watching pretty girls bent over from behind. You're gonna get some of that. You're gonna get some of the weirder racist elements from the late 60s. And the film industry from the time. Not as much as it could be, but it's there. He doesn't give himself a cameo as far as I can tell. There's just, you know, it's very self-indulgent. It's mainly a character-driven thing. Not a lot actually happens in the movie. It's really just laying pieces down for where it's eventually going to go. And, the final set piece of the film is, without spoiling anything, audacious.
Okay. Intrigued.
It definitely, like, because the whole movie you're wondering, like, how's he gonna do this? And then when he does it, it's very Tarantino.
All right.
Let's just put it that way.
All right, I'm down. Should be fun. Probably check it out on Monday. I go.
Another note, Brad Pitt is just a fucking delight.
Brad Pitt doesn't get enough credit.
Brad Pitt is a goddamn delight. And you know what? For a man in his fucking 50s or whatever, he still fucking looks amazing without his shirt.
I feel like Brad Pitt gets to do much more fun things in Tarantino movies than any other film they cast him in. Probably. And I feel like it's the only time he really tries that hard.
No, but there's literally one part where he goes up onto a roof to like do a home repair or whatever. And he's just got his beer, he's got his sunglasses, he's got his cigarette, he takes his shirt off and he's just like this perfect body with these abs and shit, and he's a stuntman, so he's got like scars and everything. And I'm like, this is porn for somebody. Like, this is, he's like a fucking dirty poster in a Playgirl or something
it's
right
like
now.
Between him and Tom Cruise, like, how the hell are you this good in shape at your age?
I don't know. I mean, fucking Paul Rudd even, just with that ageless face.
I mean, like Mission Impossible movies now, he's still like insanely good shape.
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck?
Still doing all his own fucking stunts, you know, all that shit. But yeah, anyway.
Like, what do you mean you want? I was like, you want to hand off the airplane? Yes. You want to climb up a helicopter? Yes. You want to count out the world's tallest building? Do you even need to ask?
He's like, I like. To me, he's a guy who's a thrill seeker, who has found a way to get for movie studios to pay for these things that literally nobody else in the world would be allowed to do. But he's like, hey, movie money, licenses, suction cups. Yeah,
I love that he does all this insane shit. And the one time he injures himself, he's doing it from like a fucking window to a rooftop jump. It's the only time he injures himself.
Hey, I mean, you never can tell. But,
well,
yeah. Anyway,
we're just shooting the shit.
Fun
now.
times.
Yep.
Yeah, Art of False Events. Great fucking movie. Check it out.
So,
Latest Tarantino movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Very decent.
We'll talk about it on Wednesday.
I enjoyed it. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as other people, and I think I enjoyed it more than other people. So, yeah, if you liked Jackie Brown and stuff like that, you will definitely dig.
I did like Jackie Brown.
Then you will enjoy most of this movie, because most of this movie has that kind of like hangout tone.
Okay.
So yeah. But yeah, just go watch these movies. They're good. And fuck The Lion King. Disney has enough money. Like, they're fine.
They're not satisfied till they have all of the money.
I know. It's terrible.
We're all going to be in the Reign of the Mouse in the next 20 years.
Yeah. Anyway.
And goodbye, everybody!